Greetings! I'm delighted to be back with you again for this new video in the Bishop's Partners in Mission video series, which we call Partnering in Missions. As you know, we are raising funds for Imagine No Malaria, fighting malaria, giving hope and life to people in Africa, and also we are assisting Mission Central to pay down its debts so that it can be more effective at providing God's resources for human need. This month we are delighted to have with us Pastor T.J. McCabe of Lake Como and Shehawken churches. Pastor T.J. McCabe has led a very effective and productive effort at raising funds. And so we want to learn from him and learn about what the people of those churches have done. Pastor T.J. McCabe is the district ambassador for Bishop's Partners in Mission in the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre district. TJ, I'm just so delighted that you made the time to come and share with us. Thank you for being here.
It's so wonderful to be here, but Dilip, thank you so much for having me.
TJ, tell us a little bit about the churches that you are serving, Lake Como and Shehawken.
So these two churches, to start with, really do have a true ministry for missions. They truly, they're small but mighty. Lake Como is a community church that has about an average attendance of 50 individuals a week. And Shehawken Church is a summer community, and so throughout the regular school year, they have an average attendance of about 30 people.
So tell us, what did you do? You have two small churches, and you didn't let that stop you. You said, we can do something. What did you do to raise funds for Bishop's Partners in Mission? What was that project?
So we did a project that I had done in previous employment that I had had, which is called a penny war. And a penny war is a project where we split the churches into two separate teams, one for each church, and they collected pennies in these jars. And so this is a 5 or a 10-gallon water jug that you get from your regular grocery store. And for a period of time, we started in Advent, the two churches collected pennies into their own jars, which would count as a positive score in their event. So if I had $5 in pennies in this bucket, that would be a positive score of 500 points. But after Advent, these two churches had a unique opportunity in that Shehawken and Lake Como closed one of the churches in the month of January, and they worship together at the other church. And then in the month of February, they closed the other church, and they worship together in the other church. And so during those 2 months that we were together, it was that at that point that we started to collect nickels, dimes, quarters, and dollar bills and checks. And those numbers count as a negative impact on the overall score. So the Lake Como people now were taking this silver and the dollar bills and the checks and placing them into Shehawken's, while Shehawken was taking the same exact amounts of money and putting them into the Lake Como jars. And at no point now do I have a clue that one church spent more than another, because truly it was together that they were raising this money for Bishop's Partners in Mission.
You had mentioned to me that the silver counted as a negative score.
Correct. So if I had $100 in quarters that I had placed in Shehawken's bucket, and Shehawken had raised $50 in pennies, then Shehawken's score would have been negative $50. And both scores ultimately ended up being negative, which is usually the result in this game, which is kind of fun.
So the fun part is it looks like one team can sabotage the other team by putting more money in the other team's bucket.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Very interesting. So what was the result?
So the result was that one of the buckets was about half full and the other one was about fully full. I actually had to get help from one of our youth members to bring the buckets to my car the day that we were going to count the money. But the result was that I saw everybody within the church. I saw children. I saw adults. I saw people who had not a lot of income to people who have a larger income be able to participate in this. We saw people bring money in their pill bottles in. We had a gentleman that brought a plastic pig in and had a knife in the church, and they butchered the pig as the kids helped him put the change into the jar. Wow. And so I truly saw everybody come together for Bishop's Partners in Mission in this project. We celebrated on our last Sunday together with a breakfast and worship. And in that worship, we walked in knowing that we had raised $2,300 for Bishop Partners in Mission. But at the end of that day, we had actually raised $2,500 for Bishop's Partners in Mission.
That's incredible. 2 churches.
Yes.
One about 50 people attending, another about 30 people attending. You all raised $2,500 for Bishop's Partners in Mission and involved everybody in this.
Yes.
And with this penny wars concept, what I see is that you can have 2 or more teams participate, compete to raise funds, and then start putting money in the other team's jar so that that money, the silver, counts against the pennies that are collected.
Correct.
And everybody wins at the end.
It's true.
And truly the people who win are the folks who are impacted by malaria on one side and those who need help from Mission Central. How did you keep that vision in front of people?
Each week, it was important for us to remind people that these jars were up at the front of the church and available for people to place this money in. And I wish I had the hindsight to, when in redoing this, to remind myself to bring something forward each week to put in before them. Recently, the other day, we were discussing how it's $10 for a net that helps protect a child or helps protect a family's children throughout the night so that those parents can sleep soundly. And $10 is something that was pretty common in our buckets that we found. And so I think that bringing those things forward, reminding people of the nets for Imagine No Malaria, and reminding people that over 2 million people are helped every year from Mission Central are great things to remind people and to keep it in the forefront.
Fantastic. Remind people of the meaning of what they're doing. Now, what are some variations that we can do with the penny wars concept? Can we do this maybe conference-wide?
It would be very interesting to see it done conference-wide. With 7 different districts in the conference, during annual conference, perhaps we could do a penny war, where we would have 7 of these jars set up in the front, where people would be placing pennies into their own districts, but then trying to decide, well, which district am I going to place these dollar bills in or this check in to, as you said, sabotage the other team?
Oh, that would be fun. Yes. Maybe we'll share this with the bishop.
We should.
Are there some keys to success in this? That obviously you had a plan before you even announced it. What are some things we need to keep in mind if we were to have penny wars?
I think that it's first important to make sure that your teams are clearly defined. In our churches, it was very simple because we only had 2 teams, and it was which church is it that you attend. But if you're one church trying to do this, at that point, I think it might be more important to define groups by age, or possibly define groups by Sunday school classes, or groups of individuals, UMW versus United Methodist Men maybe. But there could be more than one team, as we've already discussed, and that would be another way to keep this interesting.
That is super. TJ, you have given a lot of great ideas, not just to me, but to our listeners. Would you be okay with being contacted by them for more information?
Yeah, that would be absolutely wonderful. I'd be glad to help people out with a penny war, but any ideas that they have to raise money for Bishop's Partners in Mission.
Fantastic. TJ, something that you did was, I think, gives a message to churches that are thinking about doing something. They want to do something. They want to help out Imagine No Malaria. They do want to help Mission Central, but they haven't done anything yet. What would you recommend to help them get over that hump and to actually move into action?
For Lake Como and Shahawken, we truly looked for an opportunity within what was our regular year of celebration of our worship services. And so we took Advent as a season that we could use to raise the money for Bishop's Partners in Mission, and that's when we started this. I could see penny wars being extremely successful throughout the period of Lent, or maybe throughout the summer where you find that the students are out of school, and maybe this would create some excitement that would keep people coming through the summer when we sometimes see dwindling numbers. And so I think looking at our calendar, whether it be the secular calendar or the church calendar, gives us an opportunity to find those moments that are good for us to start a project like this.
Wonderful. And everyone can do something. And you're saying tied to the church calendar, tied to what's happening in your church, in the community, and find ways. We don't have to invent new ways. We just have to be creative about how we go about doing it. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, TJ. Thank you for sharing with us. And please convey our deep thanks to the people of Lake Como and Chihauken for their generous and sacrificial giving. So as we conclude, I hope that you, the people of the Susquehanna Conference, have got some ideas from T.J. McCabe's churches, what they did, and perhaps find a way to add your own twist to make it a creative and fun effort as you do God's work, saving lives and restoring hope. Remember, we are not doing this out of our own brilliance, but through God and in God's name. For God is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. I wish you Godspeed in your work as you continue to do His mission on earth. See you next month.